Okay.
You guys froze? Are you
It's
good
just
to go?
we're
Good to
going
go.
live right now. Welcome to the morning show, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming on. I got a
Yep.
little bit of house cleaning to do here, housekeeping to do really quick, and then we can get rolling. We need to thank the people that allow us to be here. Elka Suspension's one of those people. They do an amazing job for us, bringing the industry the best shocks that you can use in the industry. So for your UTV or your ATV, check it out with your local dealer. These are the guys that are going to take care of you. GBC tires, they make a tire for everything. Your ATV, your UTV, your truck, your trailer. These are the guys that you want to support in the industry because they're out there doing everything from off-road to desert to motocross. Their tires are doing it. So check out GBC. The Blunt family for their support of the ATV industry and the help that they've given us to bring you shows, as well as they're one of the main people that are help getting us to Briarcliff for the Legends race. So we have to thank them for that. Craig Christie for his assistance in getting us there as well. And Antelope Slot Canyon Tours. Hey, if you guys are going to go on vacation this summer and you're going to go Arizona by chance or out west, stop by Page and take a tour in the slot canyons. I think you'll really love them. They're if you're a junior photographer like Joe, you can take some amazing photos in there that your family will love. Joe didn't even phase him. He knew that Barb was coming and he just kept right on going. Gotta love it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Jeremy Osborne, Joe Tolle from ATV On Demand. Jeremy, you are the man of the hour right now. You are doing something that the industry needs. You're bringing life to us and so much excitement to this one event that I think it will be talked about for years to come. Um, I don't know if you realize how big it is and how much everybody is looking forward to it. I think you'll have the biggest race of the year by far.
Yeah, I think that's a given. Based on messages, emails, phone calls. I don't know how they're figuring out how to get my number, but I got a pretty good
I
idea.
posted it on the internet for everybody to call you. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No,
Bathroom.
yeah, I definitely have an inkling on. So a new friend of mine, Bill Rice, he lives in Australia. I knew when he had booked plane tickets, if I have that kind of attention, that it's kind of become its own animal. So I have a pretty good idea. It's going to be bigger than the normal ATV National. That's for sure.
Well, you have us coming from the West Coast, which
Yeah.
we started prepping the moment I got your text. I started prepping and asking questions and looking for support. I'm surprised it took as long as it did for us to get the support, but once we did, the floodgates opened and we got ourselves all booked and taken care of. But Joe brought up a uh, want on his list of needs for the show, and I just want to knock this out. Who's racing?
Well, we've got a list published out there, and I'll run through it. At least this is who is confirmed and planning to attend. Whether they actually attend, I can't control that, but we got people I've been in contact with: Doug Gus, Travis Spader, Shane Hitt, John Natale, Dustin Wimmer, Joe Berg, Corey Ellis, Dana Creech, Tavis Kane, Johnny Hale, Doug Eichner, Josh Upperman, Pat Brown, Billy Cottage, Cale Downen, Barry McCarty, Nick DeNoble, Richard Pelchat, and David Hagsma. And then we also, kind of last second, Justin Brees. Hopefully I didn't say that too badly. Greg G. and Chris Bithell is the current list.
Okay. Questions, Joe? I know you got a couple, and then I'm going to get into mine.
I I don't have questions at this point, but they're coming.
Okay, then I'll just head it off here. We talked briefly in the prior chat to start this. Your schedule didn't include practice, and now it does.
Yeah. Had a number of Legends racers reach out to me, damn near all of them, and ask about Friday practice. And I was kind of on the fence because I didn't want to tip the scales. I didn't want to, at first I was thinking I didn't want them to gain an advantage, but then they started citing safety and I started to think about, geez, if I were in my 50s and hadn't ridden for 12 years, never been to this track, I gave in. So we're going to have 2 practice groups Friday at noon and 2. Normal length. They're not going to be extraordinary. Couple 10-minute deals. And then Saturday morning, I decided before I caved on that we were going to put them in for a quick sight lap session at in between rounds 2 and 3. So they'll be like the third group on the track at 8 a.m. We're going to start early at 7:45. So they'll get on the track for 3 laps at 8. And then their qualifier is at 9:15, which should line up with the tail end of Saturday morning practice. So they'll have a practice qualifier at 9:15 for gate pick for Moto 1 at noon.
Nice. That's just for gate pick. And then,
Yeah.
One of the things that I was questioning in this whole deal, and, Joe's heard me say it, other people have too. One of my concerns is we have older men that are very aggressive, and we're taking them. Some of them haven't raced in 12, 14 years.
Right.
Them out there on a racetrack where they're still thinking they're that young 20-something legend that won those titles or won those races. What are your thoughts on that?
At first, we were trying to come up with a way to kind of lessen the chance of an incident. At one point, we had a single file start idea from oldest to youngest, but then I considered some of the young guys making aggressive passes through the pack, and I nixed that. We talked about a stagger start, but in the end, I kept finding issues with every idea to the point where I'm like, look, we'll put them on the gate and we'll let them decide and make the decision on how fast they want to go. It's a race. The intent is for it to be fun and more of a crowd interaction. I think in the end, I can't make the decisions for the guys. They're going to have to either race or ride, or, they'll have to make up their own minds on how they handle their racecraft and their race. I don't know. I don't know if there's a good answer on how you keep everyone from not bumping into each other a little bit here and there. And I mean, they're racers. They were some of the best racers. They're just going to have to know when to go and know when to whoa.
I like that analogy because you're putting it back on them. They're adults, they're adult males, and they have taken the choice to either participate or not participate.
Right.
I know from my end, Doug Eichner's went through 2 practice bikes, trying to get ready for this, and worn out a couple sets of tires.
That's awesome.
But he's taking it super serious. I seen Barry McCarty post that he was training. Wimmer's been training. Natali's been training. Spader, I think, has been training.
I think so.
So they are taking it seriously. I know Joe Bird has went through a drastic weight loss program.
Uh-huh.
It took the donuts and the alcohol away from him. Uh,
Yeah.
there were some rumors that he might have to sleep on the couch if he doesn't win it.
Oh
So
my. I mean, it's good that some are taking it seriously. Um, Hopefully they're not racing for millions of dollars. It's more or less like a last hurrah in a way. Crowd interaction, fan interaction. I mean, we want to see good racing, but I'm hoping it doesn't go too far. We don't really need that. I mean, we're everybody should be out here to have fun and race clean and enjoy the day. That's what it is. It's all about fun and having a great day. So hopefully we can keep it to that level.
well, you have a lot of egos there,
Uh,
and they're definitely some of them are showing it.
yeah.
I keep trying to tone Doug down a little bit, but he's thinking it's a race and he wants to show his
Yeah.
wares, tell everybody why he's one of the legends
Yep.
and really put it out there.
Well, I mean, the track. I mean, in my opinion, the track itself is not crazy technical. It's pretty fast, pretty wide, plenty of room. I get reminded of that when we go to other tracks. We have a fairly wide track in most places. I've done some things to slow down some of the sections, but it's a clay-based track. It's going to get fast. I mean, that's just the nature of it. We've added some sand in the chicane section I created that will probably keep people woed down for most of the day. Hopefully it gets a little rough and we can keep speeds down there. But again, this is not a super technical track. So I feel like, I mean, most of the guys that have come here to ride already, which I think we only got 3 so far, they haven't had any trouble with any obstacles. Shane's hitting the triple on his LTR. So I feel like the skill level is pretty good for even guys that have kind of been out of it for a while. So I think it'll just come down to how they race each other. That's going to be more of the thought process there versus the track. So
Yeah, I mean, Shane is super competitive as well,
mm-hmm.
and probably loving it. But I think he's also probably coming at it he wants to come out there and have a good ride, but he
Yeah,
also wants to have a good time.
yeah. I need to double check this, but I feel like B&B Property Service has put up money for the whole shots, or at least one of them. And I haven't announced this yet, but I think I want to say it's $200 a whole shot, maybe 300. I need to verify, and I'll get a press release out here probably Monday or Tuesday when Ian gets me the proofs on the bonus checks and whole shot checks. So that concerns me a little bit. I really didn't want there to be whole shot money for this particular class.
Right.
I'm really trying to keep them kind of under control, but apparently support for this has gotten a little crazy.
So on Friday night, do you have anything planned for the Legends?
Not for the Legends. Saturday we've got stuff planned for Legends. Friday we will be doing we have a Stasic Strider race at 6:30 for the kids, and then we'll have a Huevos movie night, which right now it seems like the two in the lead for being shown are Huevos 3 and National Born Killers. So we'll have a little TV set up here on the front of the sign-up trailer deck, and we'll play those two movies. Saturday is probably all more of a Legends Day. Obviously run through most of their riding program for that day, but they'll have motos at noon and 3, autographs at 5. We've got a 20 by 40 tent rented with tables and chairs, and we doing a little dinner media thing at, I think the time was 6:30. It's on the flyer. 6:30. And it pretty much just blend from autographs into that. And so yeah, legends, all about the legends on Saturday. And then pit quad racing 7:30 later. So yeah.
There's lots of fun stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one thing I didn't think of for Doug is autograph sheets.
Yeah, and I sent out a packet that said we could get posters made. We kind of run into the same problem. I think most of the guys run into the same problem, is finding high resolution photos of themselves from 20 years ago or even further. It was fairly difficult to get some of the pictures we have for the t-shirt. Yeah, it's stuff you don't think about till you're actually trying to do it. You know, I was thinking, but in lieu of, I don't think anyone actually got a poster together for me to print. They may be doing it on their own. I have no idea. I had some t-shirts made, some white t-shirts that had the 40-year logo on them, and there'll be autographs to get everyone to sign. So
that's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely be throwing that package together in the next day or two.
Yeah.
Get that taken. How many expected attendees do you think will go through those autograph lines?
Oh boy. Well, I was thinking about that the other day because one of our better autograph locations is High Point. High Point gets a pretty healthy amount of spectators who want autographs. And I just kind of know by how many posters Kinsey burns through that there was probably roughly 65, 70 through that line. I would think this line will probably be triple, if not quadruple. I mean, we're reserving probably 6 acres for cars. And even then, we'll probably be parking them along every driveway up by my house, out by the road. I think the spectator attendance is gonna be healthy, and a lot of people want those autographs. So my sheer guess is 300, but it'll probably be more. Who knows? You know.
That's great. I think that's outstanding. So, how many fan based people do you normally get at a national at Briarcliff?
Well, so the first one we did 10 years ago, I want to say it was a lot. We had like 2,500. The last couple years have been pretty good. That's one of the reasons our national works so well, is we have a really good core base here in Ohio. I want to say it's been between 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 ish last couple years, which is pretty good. I mean, and those I'm talking just people here that they're not racing, they're not riding, and they're not with a rider. They're just showing up. Like other tracks, I think you'd be lucky to see 500 outside of the race families. So our event usually attracts a pretty healthy number of former racers, people that are just fans of the sport or around it back in the day, and it's close to home, and they come out and watch our national. So
I think you're going to have quadruple that.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
So
Yeah.
can we change topics just for a moment?
Yep.
So, as a father of a racer,
Yeah.
how are you doing with the potential history making event with your daughter?
Oh, she rode Friday. Jumped the triple finally. We'll get it washed up, and I think it's supposed to maybe rain Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll get the oil changed and check nuts and bolts and a couple filters ready. And, I don't know. There really isn't much to deal with. Just make sure she's ready to roll. It is a little bit interesting. We've done this, 1, 2, 3 times now where she's raced the national I'm putting on. And it can be a little dicey at times. Luckily, we've never had any super major issues beyond the wiring harness problem last year, which was an easy fix, sort of. But I got a lot of people helping, like on the track, so I can take little 10-minute deals here and there, and nut and bolt, check fuel, make sure air filter's still good, check air pressure. Ask her if it's doing anything weird, which usually even if it is, she doesn't say anything. So, no, just got to deal with it one step at a time.
So it's for you, it's just as normal. We're not making it bigger than it is. Just we'll celebrate it after it happens.
Right. I mean, we're just pretty much, honestly, she's wrapped up WMX, so there's really nothing left there to worry about. 450A is pretty much for fun. Like to see her win a moto, but there's no reason to build it up bigger than it is.
Undefeated season's a kind of a big thing.
Oh yeah. Well, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about it. We don't think about it. It's every race is a race. And I think everybody pretty much knows that's more on me than her. So, no, that's just, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, we'll move on to the next season and start a new streak. So we don't worry about the undefeated season and the streak and all that, because at this point, even if it stopped, how do you rewrite that? So we don't ever talk about it. We don't ever think about it. We just focus on getting stuff ready and going racing motos. So,
Jeremy, you're a pretty amazing guy. You are so down to earth. Inside, you maybe have turmoil and everything, but on the outside, you're just as cool and calm as you can be. And I like it. I really do.
Sometimes I'm not cool and calm, trust me. But
well, I'm sure.
Try to be. Try to be. So.
I'm sure that's the case. You have a lot of pressure on you, and you're doing a lot of different things, and putting this race on, and all the different hats you have to wear, and all the different people you have to deal with is probably, the normal man would probably crumble. But this
race in particular, I really, well, like with most things you take on, you sort of underestimate it to a point. Like, I didn't really think it would take this much more organization, and then on top of it, I just went ahead and made it really hard on myself. So we rebuilt a bunch of fences, totally revamped the whole PA system, changed the track, added a bunch of parking. I did all that to myself. So not just the organization, but the physical work. I probably have well over 200 machine hours in track changes and parking lot, and just, yeah, it's going to be one of those years I'll look back and think, what in the hell was I thinking? But, I feel like I had to do everything within my control and power to just make it the best I could. So
has ATVA or AMA or anybody reached out to you about how your event's going and the things that you're doing?
Oh, a little bit here and there. We talk. They have Vintage Days at Mid Ohio that weekend, so they're absorbed in that event. That's a big event for the AMA. And then on the other side of the coin, you got a lot of the other people going down, moving into Loretta's that weekend or just before it for the Dirt Bike National, Amateur National. So, cool part about my relationship with AMA is I think they feel like I got a fairly good handle on the event and I don't need a whole lot of hand holding. We've had conversations here and there, but I think they just kind of trust me with the event to a degree. So
that says a lot about you and your character. Joe, you're so stoic and silent. Are you sleeping behind those glasses?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm just taking it in.
he's
Am I, am
thinking he's thinking of question number one.
am I covering everything for you or answering these questions for you?
Oh no, you're covering a lot. I was I had some thoughts like as far as the Legends racing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said you built a new track section, you put some sand in it. I talked to some guys that race the Nationals. It's been a long time since I've been there, and I know back in the 90s, you watch different videos of different Nationals, and some tracks would be very sandy, some tracks would be loamy, and some tracks would be very hard packed.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that recently, or at least for a while, most of all the Nationals are plowed very deep,
Mm-hmm.
basically prepped almost for dirt bikes. And I know you were talking about, your track's very clay based and it's going to get hard. Is there something with the AMA and the rest of the promoters that are saying they want these tracks prepped a certain way?
No, that's one thing the AMA will not do. They will not. I mean, the actual AMA will not mandate any type of track prep or design because they don't want to take on any liability. It's solely up to the promoter. But being a clay-based track, what I know is that the deeper I rip it, the more I make it loamy, the longer it'll last before it becomes a hard packed dust bowl. And the reason I try to stay away from that as much as possible is when it gets hard like that and you inevitably have to water, it's a skating rink and it creates safety issues. So the goal is to try to make it last as long as it can. And I felt like we did a pretty good job of that last year. It got pretty rough. I know I went out in the tractor to try to hit the race line with the tiller, and I almost got bounced out of the cab of the tractor just trying to go through the track. It was pretty beat. I was pretty happy with it. But no, I don't think that. I think it's more the evolution of the four strokes. We're making them deeper to try to slow these guys down a little bit too. The modern four strokes are just so fast. I think some of it comes from that. You want to slow the racing down as much as possible, especially clay is already fast. So I think it's more out of necessity to try to aid some of the safety is how I think it's developed.
Now, did you do anything specifically? Are you doing anything different this year at all with the Legends race in mind, or is it just kind of like business as usual and come run it?
Yep. We're prepping it like we did last year. I was on the dozer 12 hours yesterday, flipping track. I flipped the whole thing 2.5 feet deep, and I graded off flat. That way it's pliable and ready for prep next Thursday. The more you can rip that and flip it, the more palatable the track is to accepting water and prep. We want to have a workable surface. Our chisel plow goes down 18 inches, but sometimes it won't if you have really bad hard pan. So, and we also have some mulch mixed in. So we want to keep flipping that over, and it's just kind of the science of working your dirt, you know. If you
What
leave it
is,
alone. What's
not to
that?
not to interrupt you, but what is your process or procedure for heavy rain? I mean, I know that in the old days we used to scream when they would till the track when a storm was coming because it just made it worse.
It's graded off. If I left it like chisel plowed, it would be terrible. It'd be terrible. But I'm grading it all flat again. So it only takes so much rain to close those pores off, and then it's going to run off. So yeah, correct. If you were to rip it and leave it plowed up like piles of dirt, that's a terrible idea because it doesn't have a good way to overflow and drain. But the way it's graded off now, I think we'll be fine. Plus, there's a lot of dry dirt down underneath all that. So
Have you guys got a lot of rain this year?
overall, right now, I've been sucking a lot of dust. It's pretty dry. Yeah, overall, but that doesn't really matter. It's what's happened in the last week that really matters.
On Thursday, there's a 35% chance of rain there. I haven't seen Friday, Saturdays.
It well, it was gloom and doom, and so the pattern, and I believe in patterns. The trend it's becoming less and less. So now but what I've also noticed is they'll give you a forecast, and then it only gets super real about an hour out from what's about to happen. So I don't know, but I think this is the best way forward to have our event and have success. I've done this a couple years in a row now. This is nothing new, and we've actually had rain, bad rain, the last couple years, at least on one of the days. I think last year was a Thursday. The years before that might have been on Saturday or Saturday night. So I've actually tested this method with rain coming and a lot of rain coming, and we've been able to make a race out of it. So
that's really great. As far as all that, you know, the testing and everything with the rain, what other things should we look for with the legends? I mean, you know, I talk about the legends a lot because I'm so excited about it, but um, we also have some big things with the pro motocross guys. You know, Joel Hetrick didn't lead every lap the last round.
yeah.
Hogue, Wolf, and Ford were, you know, putting the pressure on him, and Lindquist was in there too.
Yep.
You know, there's also a season possibility that Joel could go undefeated for the year as well, and nobody talks about that as much either.
Yeah.
As your track, Brandon Hogue was doing real well there 2 years ago on a Honda until he had a failure.
Right.
You think we could possibly see a change up in the pro class?
Um, uh, having watched Joel race, I don't know how many times, 7 times this year. They're getting closer, but he's just on another level, and I think everyone in that class would agree. If as long as in a very weird, not weird, but a very different parallel universe sort of way, it's kind of like Kinsey and WMX. There's just a lot of separation. Maybe not quite that much. The Bryce and Brandon are closer than that, but anything's possible. But I don't think so. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen by racecraft. I think it would have to be some bad luck, unfortunately.
Right. I don't think that it's gonna. I don't foresee it happening. I would like to see somebody challenge him. You know,
Yeah,
I know
but
he's got a great team underneath him with
yeah,
Phoenix, and they're
but
doing amazing work on his bikes.
if they do get a moto from him, that is a seriously big accomplishment. Because he's so on point. Everything about his program, the way he rides, the way he's riding, it would be really tough. And I hope Bryce and Brandon use that as fuel, and Max, all the guys there in that second, third, fourth area. And keep in mind, I think this is where Max beat Chad for a moto for the first time
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was
So
here. I watched it.
yeah, things can happen. I'm not saying I want them to. I'm just, things can happen. It's racing, but if it goes the way it's been going, probably not going to happen. So,
Well, rumor has it the most competitive races to watch are the pro sport and the pro am.
for sure, classes are stacked. Guys are fast. Pro sport, especially. Um, there's like 5 guys that could win a pro sport moto. I mean, probably more, but for sure there's like 5 guys who are the kind of the favorite to win a moto. It's really, really good racing. And I think one of the things that makes it interesting is it's a sprint, what is it, like 6 laps, versus pro-am's like 8 or 9. So it's like there's a time factor. It's like, well, you only got 6 laps, you got to make it happen, or 5 or what it is. So yeah, it's really good racing right now in that class. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, one of the young man that's winning the leading the points in the 4-stroke A is also, doing well in the
Yeah.
pro.
Yeah, Hubert. He
Yeah.
he come out swinging this year at Texas. That guy he's on for as far as the A class goes, he's kind of on a different level than the rest of the pack. And he definitely will be one of the future contenders in pro sport. I mean, he's kind of moved up in that class. Like as the years went, he keeps getting closer to the front. So, yep, a lot of growth there in that class.
Yeah, I talked to Leon, because he does the race reports with me, and we get to talk about all these young men and ladies. Your daughter is always brought up in the comments when we start talking about racing against the boys, because we see her growth and her speed. She
Yeah.
may not always have the best race in the 450A, but that's just developing her skill set. She's still so young that 2 or 3 years from now, she could be the one dominating the pro sport of the pro am class.
Yeah, well, who knows? She takes steps every year. Like I said, Friday, she finally got talked into jumping the triple, and then she just wanted to go in circles and jump the triple. She didn't want to ride the rest of the track. So, she continues to grow every year. So, in that A class group that she's kind of friends with and race with, that's an exceptional group of young people. They're all fast. I mean, Casey Fancher, fast. Braden Orr, fast. I mean, just go down the line. There's not one slouch in that class. They're bad fast. And for her to even hang with them at times is pretty impressive. So,
Is this the same group that she's grown up with most of the
yep,
time?
she ran 250s with a lot of them. Some of them ran B class with a bunch of them. That kind of that, I don't know, generation or class group or whatever you want to call it, that she's kind of come up the ranks with, from youth to schoolboy 250s, then in the amateurs. It's a good group. There are a lot of fast kids. I mean, like Casey won 2 B classes last year. He's fast. Jared Guan, he's fast. He's always right there in the top 5. Braden's super fast, and it's interesting to watch them race each other because they are friends, but they still race each other pretty hard. So it's pretty cool to watch.
That is exciting. I look at all of results and get to see the finishes and stuff. And then Leon fills me in on how the races went. He gets to watch the 450A, mostly the pro sport and the pro, but he does get me the information on the other. You got a couple new gals or a couple of gals in the women's WMX that seem to be getting a little faster as well, and they're relatively new also.
Yeah, I mean, not really. Shelby Cabrando and Olivia Joyner and Mace and Natalie Jack said Mason. Kenzie's been racing Natalie and Olivia since she started nationals in 18. So maybe, Natalie's first year in WMX, but I mean, we've been racing. I think last year was the only year we hadn't raced Natalie since we started the nationals. We've raced Livy every year except when she was stuck in Canada because of COVID. Shelby actually is one of the first girls to jump the triple ever. She did it at the Digging Deep Ride Day last October. And then Kenzie still wouldn't jump it. So it's interesting. That didn't motivate her more. But yeah, Shelby's fast. Livy's fast. Natalie's fast. There's a pretty good group of girls there in WMX, that's for sure.
Yeah, you got a new one, Alyssa Duncan.
And yeah, she is. When we used to go to Unadilla, I think she was on a 250 then, but she's really kind of, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but she stepped it up. She's snagging some podiums. She's got a couple podiums, I think, this year, at least at Bud's Creek, and I think last year on a PVR. So I think she's on a little bit of a streak. She definitely is on the gas. Now the whole girls program, girls, schoolgirl, women's 15 plus and WMX is a really good transition for the ladies, and I think it's evident by some of the turnouts we're getting and the progression we're seeing from the girls class all the way up to WMX.
That's some pretty cool stuff. I like to hear about the growth in the classes. Joe and I have had a lot of conversations and talks about the missing youth machines. What's your take on that? And Joe, make sure that correct me on anywhere that I missed on what I was saying. Okay, please.
Sure.
What missing youth machines? Which ones?
Well, you don't have any in between bike that you can go buy off the showroom floor to go race in a 125, 250, 350 size machines to keep these kids legal in the totalitarian regime that we have overseeing everything.
Yeah. I think I think that we really need a 250 and a 450 chassis. I mean, that whole group that Kenzie's racing with, I don't know that would have happened without the being able to put a 250 in like a 450 chassis and race it. I feel like that hybrid or conversion has a lot to do with the success of that group. They were able to ride a full-size machine that was, I guess I'll call it underpowered, versus a 450 early, at 13 years old. And that prepared them for their transition to a 450. So, I mean, since we truly have one manufacturer, if Yamaha were to put a 250 sized engine in their current YFZR, I think it would do well. I think there would be a lot of people wanting it. And I think you'll see the trickle down of people using Yamaha parts for other mini quads. Kenzie's 90 mod was a one-off alpha by 6.5 Designs, and we actually used the spindles from the YFZR. So it had a Yamaha front end on it, Yamaha spindle front end on it, which stuff was readily available, easy to get, brand new, relatively affordable versus the LTR stuff. I think we need to move towards stuff like that. We need a 250 to complement the 450, and then you can just pull the engine out when they turn 16 and put a 450 in it, and they're comfortable on the chassis, and they just get a little more power.
So you are a fan of the Gen 3 from Walsh that will fit the 250 and 450 different engines. So you don't have to chassis.
I think it's a good idea. I guess I would like to see Yamaha do that. Maybe not any engine, but definitely the 250 and 450 Yamaha engines.
Yeah, because you can put what he's setting it up for is so you can take your 250 CRF motor out and put your Yamaha 450 motor in, or vice versa, whatever configuration. The one he's having trouble with is the KTM.
Yeah, it's a goofy engine. It's got like weird mounting points, and it's I think it's tall. But I think it's a great idea. Trying to make things more uniform. Sport's hard enough to afford, and then you need spare parts, and you kind of know who your Honda hybrid guys are, and you go ask them, and you kind of know who your hybrid Yamaha guys are, then you know who your OEM Yamaha guys are, and it'd be really cool if we could just all be on the same machine. I mean,
yeah, Richard Pelchat, I think it was the first company who came out with a kit that lets you put a YZ250F engine into the YZ.
Yeah, my nephew has one. He has a Yamaha with that in it.
It's unfortunate, but I think we're very unlikely to ever see Yamaha do that. And it's just because of the pure economics of it, because of all the Z450Rs that are ever sold. And it's something I've heard talked about for years, even back when everybody had 450s, and there was like, oh, we could just get a 250. But the problem with it being is just the pure economics of it, because of all the YFZ 450Rs that are sold, maybe 5% are actually raced, maybe 10, but I think 10 is generous. When you put a 250 engine into that chassis, not to be a dream crusher, but you're talking about a bike that retails for $10,599. If you put that 250 motor in it, well, now it's going to be $800, $1,000 cheaper at most. And because it's primarily a vehicle that's supported by just the general consumer, not many people are going to walk into a showroom floor and be like, yeah, give me the 250. I don't want the 450. So pure economics are going to kill that. I think, if we ever see another 250 from a Japanese company, some sort of entry-level machine, it's going to be very Raptor-esque, So what are your thoughts on, because I've heard this talked about, of, dealing with costs, and you could build if there was more, there was more restrictions as to what you could do, but of course the rich parents wouldn't like it, but the average parents might, if you could go buy a YFZ 450R, there's your $10,500 investment plus the kit to convert it, plus the dirt bike engine. Should there be any restrictions on the rest of the machine? I mean, could that class be made more of a production kind of friendly class where it's like you can revalve suspension, but you can't go further than that? The internals of the motor have to be stock. I mean, are there things that you think could be put in place? Obviously, it's never going to be inexpensive to build a hybrid, but once you take a 250 dirt bike engine, it costs just as much to modify it as a 450 dirt bike engine or a quad engine. And I know a guy whose kid's racing in Pro-Am, and he says he has $10,000 in the motor.
Yeah, so the first question or the first answer. So we've tried the national level. We had production stock classes and they didn't do well. And if you look at the results for production B and production A, which are only production based machines, but they're, that's the only real rule, they're lower. I think racers want fast stuff and they want to think it's fast. Yeah. Would it help the sport if we could all decide, let's not buy all these expensive parts and ride stock or stockish classes or production classes? That'd be great, but we're too dumb to do that. We just want to go fast. So we buy all these parts and then we're like, yeah, this is too expensive. And we're like, yeah, no shit. So I don't know. There's all these theories like, oh, if it was more affordable, we could get more people. Not necessarily. I mean, we tried. We had stock class, there 2 or 3 years ago, a couple of them. We had a production stock B, production stock C. They just weren't well attended, and they should have been. If the theory works, more affordable, you'll get more numbers.
Do you think that not enough focus is put on those and not enough time is spent for that? And Jeff, to answer part of Joe's question, what does Dirt Wheels know or heard of any new machines coming through the industry? And Jeff Henson's checked in from Dirt Wheels, just in case anybody didn't notice.
Here comes the lies and propaganda.
I don't. We brought it up last week when we were on here. The Lone Star has a CRF 150 based youth model that they're producing right now that we are hoping to get an exclusive story on here in Arizona. Other than that, it's just a lot of Chinese knockoff stuff. There is a Raptor 250 copy out there that I don't know that is even going to make its presence in the U.S. But that's all I got. I've seen some stuff on electric machines for youth models and stuff, but I don't, nothing that you would that I think racers would be attracted to.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff, I think that Raptor 250 clone is in the U.S., isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are dealers.
You're right. I did see it at the AIM Expo earlier this year. So I don't know anything else about that machine though.
And it was just to repeat the story, with the production stock class, it was a good idea. It was a good idea, like 11 years too late. Back in 2010, we did a 450 motocross shootout the first year that I was working, ATV on demand, and we had all the wide bikes, and there we had the KTM, we had the Can-Am, we had the Suzuki, we had the Yamaha, and we had the Polaris. Even though the Polaris wasn't quite as wide, they said motocross and 18-inch tires, so we had it. And I was talking to a few people about if we want to try to keep all these bikes around and push these manufacturers for development, we should have a pro stock class, because you have 5 manufacturers that make motocross with machines. Let's now make them battle with these bikes to push development. And
Jeremy's got this one.
And in a sport of monkey see, monkey do, and that's most sports. I'm not just picking on quads. I'm a sport quad guy, but it's all monkey see, monkey do. And if you had 5 brands that all had bikes that could pay contingency at that point, because they're competing, why not do it? And I had people trying to tell me at the time, like, oh, you can't race stock bikes, they'll break. And I'm like, bullshit. We just had all 5 bikes at Bar to Bar MX that has 3 90-foot jumps and 120-foot triple. We didn't bend anything in a whole day on any bikes. So to say they couldn't have competed at the national level without falling apart was a complete farce. And whoever didn't decide to pull the trigger on that blew it.
Well, two things.
Hear me
That's
answer.
that's how production. That's how pro became production back in '02 or '03 or '04. If you remember, we had a pro class, we had production pro or whatever. And I think it was only for a season, and then pro became production only. So they were heading that way when the first Yamaha came out, and a DRZ or LTZ or whatever it was out. But we had pro stock in 21, 22, and the guys weren't that far off their lap times. I mean, a couple seconds from their full blown pro bikes, and there were very, very few modifications could be made to those. And that's how the other pro stock classes kind of came about, as we had that pro stock class. I think Chad pretty much won most of them, the championships, but I don't know. When I go to Cedar Point, I don't want to ride the Gemini. I want to ride the Millennium Force. I just don't think the mentality of the majority of the racers, I'm not saying everybody, I just don't think it's conducive with stock class type racing. We all tinker with stuff and build stuff.
I understand that, but I think what Joe's trying to say is if if manufacturers are putting these out there, we should be promoting the manufacturer's machine so that it's going to generate those stock classes. And the earlier question that I had for you was, do you think we gave up on those stock classes too soon?
I think the pro class, because I think it's kind of an anomaly versus the amateur stock class. It's pretty cool to watch what the pros can do on stock machines. I feel like that should have stuck around a little while longer. Plus, that was a good stepping stone for some of the pro-am guys. You get experience, like Max Lindquist is a perfect example. He gained so much experience with racing with Chad and the other guys there in that pro stock class to help him with, okay, this is how fast we need to go. I think on the pro level, yes, it was prematurely probably cut out, but I don't know about amateur wise. I don't think Kinsey would ever race something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I see that.
And I think had they done it back in 2009 when they had all the motocross bikes, all you've got now are stepping stones to the pro class that are the exact same bikes with no limitation. Like,
yeah,
if you would have had a pro stock class as almost like a leader class to the true pro class, at least would have created some separation in here's the junior class, here's the elite class, like, dirt bike 250 and 450. And I mean, I hear what you're saying about the fact that, people don't want to ride slow stuff, but if their heroes were riding stock bikes and they were getting paid and there was contingency in the amateur ranks, because by the time we started seeing a pro stock or a stock class in racing, it's like, when you have one bike, had we had 5 bikes still, then manufacturers would have probably been paying contingency to race amateur classes in a stock class. And frankly, I think the stock class championship at a time when you had multiple brands competing would have been more prestigious for the manufacturers than an unlimited budget bike where it's like nothing but dripping in aftermarket parts because they won on a stock bike. And then my last point is there are stock classes for bikes at Loretta's, right? That have very limited rules and they're pretty well classed.
Their stock is a lot better than our stock. It's not even close. Like they call them limited, but a dirt bike off the showroom floor is not the same as an ATV off the showroom floor. Quite a bit of difference there. So to say that dirt bikes have stock and race stock, that's the apples and oranges. And quite honestly, I don't feel like the manufacturers quit making machines solely based on whether or not there were stock classes. I think the economy had more to do with that than anything. Housing crash 08, 09 probably had much more major impact financially on the ability to manufacture machines and people buying them than whether we had pro, stock, AFB, DCH, or whatever other class. You can spin it however you want, make up all the classes, make a class for people named Bill that ride red bikes. It doesn't matter. I think there are factors out of our control that had a lot more to do with those decisions on whether to make quads or not.
Oh no, I would concur 100%. The housing and yeah, I remember the '08 crash. It was terrible. Yeah, that's what killed it. That's what killed it.
I think so. I mean, to say if they had a stock class, it may have done this or may have done that. I don't think it would have mattered. The storm hit outside of whether we had this class or that class. That's just the way it went. So,
right. Jeff, do you hear anything different than what Jeremy and Joe have said about the stock classes?
No, I'm agree 100% with Jeremy. And as far as the economy goes and stuff, that had a lot to do with it. And I think a lot of the stuff that Joe and I have talked about, whereas it's more profitable for the manufacturers to produce aftermarket parts and stuff for side-by-sides and make more money. I think that's where their vision is still. I think that's going to change here pretty soon, but that's just where we're at. I'm really optimistic about where things are going to go next year, especially if we have a new administration in November.
Well, we can only hope that things change that way. Jeremy, I know you're a busy guy. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jeff. Sorry about that. I know you're a busy guy and you probably have tons to do. I believe I'm going to be at the Legends race. Joe, you're going to plan on be there. Jeff, I keep telling you, you need to get a plane ticket and come on out and see us and play in the sandbox with us. Dirt Wheels needs to be there. I don't know if you guys are going to make it or not, but Jeremy, in the end here to close out, give us a shout out for the race and what you expect to happen.
Oh, geez. Well, I think people are going to pull in Thursday. Friday, we're going to do some practice and people are going to do circles, go around the track. We're going to do some racing Saturday, tell some stories, wake up Sunday, do some more racing. And everybody's going to go home and we're going to have a story to tell for years is what I think is going to happen.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Simplify it right down to the core, man. Thank you very much for doing this. Thanks for coming on the show. I know that it cut right into the middle of your day here and your minutes are getting short before the race shows up. I will see you on Friday. Joe, I don't know what day you're going to get there. Jeff, we're still counting on you showing up.
Let me just say real quick that High Torque, we don't have the budget for that right now. At least they won't pay for it. I would love to be there. I would do it on my own dime, but inflation is kicking our butts too. I hope that will all change next year, and we can get back out to the East Coast and do more stuff, even if I have to pay my own way. I want to be there. This is a big...
wife gives you an allowance, and I know that there's enough money in that allowance to buy an airline ticket.
My wife owns horses. She doesn't give me an allowance. She spends all her money on those horses. So so that's my excuse, but I hope things will change next year. And if I do have extra money, I will pay my own way to come out there to cover more of this stuff, GNCC, things that it's important to us. And I don't want anybody to think we're just ignoring it. It's a money issue.
Hey, in the chat, not to extend the conversation because I know you need to go, Jeremy. If Bill Balance showed up, would you let him ride because he's a woods legend?
Yeah, I would.
Or Barry Hawk, one of those guys?
Yep. 100%. If you show up and you want a pro championship on the GNCC or ATV MX level, I'll make it happen. That's not everyone, but if you're Barry Hawk or Bill Balance, I'll let you race a tricycle. I don't care. Yeah, those guys are. That's almost a no-brainer. I mean, I get getting a lot of heat and messages about who is a legend and who isn't. You got that many championships to your name, you're a legend. I don't care what anybody says. You know, that I mean, and not just championships, like top XC1 pro. And didn't Barry won one on the dirt bike side too at GNCC, didn't he? I mean, you don't even, that's not even a question. That's get your helmet and practices this time and that time. I mean, those type of guys, I hate to say this because this probably opened me up to a lot of stupidity, but those types of guys don't need invitations. They exist. They are legends. I mean,
So who's your GOAT?
who's my GOAT for the ATV MX side?
No, for the ATV
Oh,
of all time greatest racer.
oh no. I'm not doing this. Oh no. Nope. I don't even want to go there.
I love
No,
it. I got Joe and Jeff on it last week. So
I would say as far as ATV racer, not ATV motocross, ATV racer, my opinion is Gary Denton because he did TT and motocross. As far as ATV motocross, right now Chad has the most championships, and that's what weighs in my court. Championships. How many do you have? As far as all-round ATV racer, because he's kind of one in two disciplines, I'd say it's Gary. Just my opinion. I mean, I'm not anybody. That's just what I think.
that's all that matters. That's everybody's got their own choice. I mean, these guys know I'm biased to my pick, and I don't hide it, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I love all these other everybody's name that gets mentioned. They're all phenomenal champions and
Yeah.
deserve more accolades than they get, in my opinion. And thank you again so much, Jeff. I appreciate you chiming in late, and it was my fault, not yours. But Dirt Wheels always needs to be involved in the conversation. And everybody, if you haven't got your subscription to Dirt Wheels, you need to do that. The magazine is alive and growing. Joe from ATV On Demand and UTV On Demand, you go out there and watch those videos. They're very informative, and you need to subscribe so you help Joe grow. ATV Talk always needs your support. So subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do, share us. It always helps in the algorithms, and it lets us bring you more shows. Jeremy Osborne from Briarcliff, I think that you're going to go down as a legend in all of our books because you're doing something that is pretty amazing, and we appreciate it. Being an ATV enthusiast, I'm pretty stoked by it. I know Joe and Jeff, we've all had the conversation about how exciting it is and how big it is. And thank you so much. We really appreciate it. What do you got in closing, Joe?
Well, I think Jeremy's probably the right guy to do this event. I've heard from a number of people over the past few years that a lot of racers on the circuit think that he is the top guy, that his events are the best, just the way they're run, all the extracurricular activities. So yeah, it's exciting. Can't wait to see how the weekend goes.
Jeff, what do you got in closing, brother?
I got nothing. I'm embarrassed that we're not going to be there. So looking forward to next year.
Dude, I can loan you $5.
$5? I think plane ticket's a lot more than that.
Well, at least it's something, right? It's the
You
donation.
sticking in your suitcase.
I am taking a gear bag. Oh, by the way, I got to put you on the spot really quick, Jeremy. One of my sponsors says that part of the contingency for me to get the travel money to go there was that I had to take a lap on Doug's bike. Can we work that out?
Well, it just so happens that if you're here soon enough on Friday, we're doing a sight lap for the Molanders and Ernie from FTR in their memory. So at 9:45 before practice starts, we're gonna do a lap. So I don't know if you'll be here by then.
I should be.
Well, then there's your lap. Richard Molander, Don's brother, will be bringing both of Dane's bikes. They'll be on display all weekend. We got somebody else bringing Dane's truck. Alyssa Bolden, Ernie's daughter, will be here camping. They were going to come to the race last year, then his health took a turn and they couldn't make the trip to the race. So she's kind of doing it in his memory. So yeah, there's your lap. Friday at 9:45. You'll get an eyeful, hopefully.
I'll be there. I'll be in my gear and I'll be there. All right,
Yeah.
brother. I want to thank all you guys so much for coming on the show. Jeremy, you are a legend, and this will be a legendary event. And thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. Joe, as always, thank you so much. Jeffrey, accept my apology for bringing you in late, but I got you here. And like I said, everybody, follow these gentlemen and support the ATV industry. We will see you on Friday.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see y'all later.
Thank
Thank you.
you.